Welcome to the EVDAS training module M5b EVDAS training for marketing authorization holders. This module will provide you with an overview of the EVDAS functionalities and Level 1 access to EVDAS by marketing authorization holders to comply with their pharmacovigilance obligations with regards to signal detection and management. This module contains the following sections: Introduction, Background legislation and guidelines, EVDAS access by marketing authorization holders, marketing authorization holder pharmacovigilance queries dashboard, implementation of signal detection in EVDAS, EVDAS reports, outputs, and a summary. Introduction to this training module. The target audience for this module are marketing authorization holders in the European Economic Area. With regards to the learning objectives, by the end of this module, participants will be able to understand the access to EVDAS provided by the EVDAS Data Analysis System, or EVDAS, be familiar with the EVDAS user interface, be able to retrieve electronic reaction monitoring reports, or ERMRs, line listings, and ICSR forms from EVDAS, understand the system functionalities for manipulating the reports outputs, understand how signal detection is implemented in EVDAS, and also understand the outputs of the EVDAS reports. Let's now start with the background legislation and guidelines. In this section, you will obtain understanding of the main legislative requirements for monitoring the EVDAS database, and you will know which are the main guidelines for signal detection and management in the European Union. The updated pharmacovigilance legislation published in 2010 established the principles for monitoring the data in EVDAS and for the revision of the access to the database. But it was the Commission implementing regulation published in 2012 what provided us with the specific roles and responsibilities for monitoring EVDAS and also established the different steps in the signal management process. Within the minimum requirements for monitoring EVDAS, the implementing regulation states that marketing authorization holders, national competent authorities, and the agency shall ensure the continuous monitoring of EVDAS with a frequency proportionate to the risk and the need for additional information. We will see during this training module how the system is going to facilitate the continuous monitoring of the database and how we can apply different frequencies of monitoring. The implementing regulation also states that marketing authorization holders shall monitor EVDAS to the extent that they have access to the database, and this was one of the drivers for the revision of the EVDAS access policy. Signal detection within EVDAS shall be complemented by statistical analysis where appropriate. During the section on implementation of signal detection in EVDAS, we will further explain the statistical analysis that has been implemented in the database. And to finish with this overview of the legislative requirements, we should highlight that the agency shall ensure appropriate support for monitoring of EVDAS by marketing authorization holders. In this context, we will explore in this training module the dashboard created in the EVDAS data analysis system for MAHs to monitor the database and also the training manuals to support the users of the system. We have so far covered some of the principal and key legislative requirements for monitoring EVDAS by marketing authorization holders. but please note that more details of the legal provisions that form the basis for the new hydravigilance functionalities are provided in the Pharmacovigilance training module M1, New Hydravigilance Functionalities, and the 2010 Pharmacovigilance legislation, Preparing for Change. You can find this training module along with the rest of the hydravigilance training program in the hydravigilance webpage within the EMA corporate website. Moving now to the European guidelines, the GVP9 on signal management has undergone a major revision. The module was released for public consultation during 2016 and will be finalized in 2017. Stakeholders are advised to consult the final module once adopted. The revision of the GVP Module 9 incorporates the following updates: a revised definition and process for emerging safety issues, which was previously addressed in GVP Module 6. Streamline information on scientific aspects of signal management. Clarifications on terminology, roles and responsibilities and processes. Criteria for access by marketing authorization holders to case narratives held in hydravigilance. Updated guidance on the periodicity of monitoring of hydravigilance data, and procedural options for signals validated by marketing authorization holders. The GVP Module 9 on signal management states that the appropriate frequency of monitoring hydravigilance may vary depending on the knowledge of the safety profile of the product. In this context of periodicity, a 2-week interval is recommended for active substances contained in medicinal products included in the additional monitoring list, unless the only reason for inclusion on the list is the request of a post-authorization safety study. Moreover, the interval between reviews of hydravigilance should not be longer than 6 months. The revised GVP Module 9 on signal management contains a new addendum with the aim to provide the principles and general methodological aspects of signal detection for spontaneous reports of suspected adverse reactions. This addendum is also subject to finalization and adoption in 2017. Continuing with the topic on European guidelines, the agency, in collaboration with the Member States, has published a guideline on screening adverse drug reactions in hydravigilance. This guideline updates and supersedes the previous guideline on the use of the statistical signal detection in hydravigilance and describes the methods and practicalities for statistical signal detection in the database. This guideline includes the changes that have been incorporated following research activities including PROTECT. Further details on the implementation of signal detection in hydravigilance are provided in the relevant sections within this training module. We are now at the end of the section dedicated to the legislation and European guidelines, where we have outlined the main legal requirements for monitoring the hydravigilance database and the EU guidelines on signal management. We are moving now to the next section, which is going to cover the EVDAS access by marketing authorization holders. In this section, you will obtain understanding of the main principles for the access to EVDAS by marketing authorization holders to comply with their pharmacovigilance obligations. We will see also how marketing authorization holders can access EVDAS. Access to hydravigilance for different stakeholders is established in the Hydravigilance Access Policy, which was revised as a result of the 2010 Pharmacovigilance legislation and was adopted by the EMA Management Board in December 2015. The revision of the access policy will enter into force 6 months following the announcement by the Management Board of the agency that based on an independent audit report, the EVDAS database has achieved full functionality. Please note that further details of the revision of the EVDAS access policy and how stakeholders obtain access to the database are provided in the training module Pharmacovigilance M4, Revised EVDAS Access Policy, Impact on Stakeholders. The access policy states that marketing authorization holders will be provided with access to a defined ICSR data element set in support of their signal detection, validation, and other pharmacovigilance obligations. EVDAS access for marketing authorization holders is implemented according to Level 1 access for stakeholders Group 3. The access policy determines that marketing authorization holders can access EVDAS via EVWeb, EVDAS, and the ADR reports portal. Please note that this training module will focus on the EVDAS access via EVDAS, where marketing authorization holders will be able to retrieve electronic reaction monitoring reports, active substance grouping, individual case line listings, and ICSR forms. As this would be the first time that marketing authorization holders have access to EVDAS, authorized personnel should follow a registration process in order to get access to the database, which will be granted as headquarters level. The QPPV or Deputy QPPV should nominate the authorized personnel with access to EVDAS in line with the EVDAS registration process, and the QPPV or Deputy QPPV are responsible for updating the user registration for their organization accordingly. The steps and process to follow for the EVDAS and EVDAS registration, including how to maintain the registered user information, are provided in the training module EVDAS M1, How to Register with EVDAS and EVDAS. We are going to see now the key principles for the EVDAS access by marketing authorization holders. All marketing authorization holders with a medicinal product authorized in the European Economic Area will be granted access provided that they have followed the registration process. Access is provided at substance level using the highest level of the active substance in the hierarchy of the EV-M5b, the Extended EVDAS Medicinal Product Dictionary. Marketing authorization holders have access to all the substances contained in products authorized in the European Economic Area that have been coded as suspect or interacting in at least one post-authorization ICSR. Access is to the individual cases where the specific substance is coded as suspect or interacting. Access is provided to all cases in the EVDAS post-marketing module, and that include the cases with report type spontaneous, reports from studies, other, and not available to sender. Reports from studies only will include individual patient use and other studies, so no access to cases from interventional clinical trials is provided. We are now moving to introduce the EVDAS data analysis system and how to access it. Within the EVDAS system, EVDAS is the component dedicated to support the EU pharmacovigilance safety monitoring activities with the main focus on signal detection and evaluation of ICSRs. The data contained in the database management system is transferred every night through the ETL process into the data warehouse, and users can query the database through the EVDAS interface. Please note that a full description of the EVDAS system component and system functionalities are provided in the training module EVDAS M2, Introduction to the EVDAS System Components and System Functionalities. Accessing EVDAS. Users registered in EVDAS will be able to access the system through the following ways: via the EVDAS page on the EMA corporate website or via the EVDAS welcome page. To access EVDAS via the EVDAS page, once in the EMA corporate website, click on Human Regulatory, Pharmacovigilance, EVDAS, and then click on EVDAS Production. Enter your username and your password, and you will arrive at the restricted area within the EVDAS website. Then click on EV Data Warehouse in the left-hand menu. Another way to access EVDAS is directly from the EVDAS welcome page. Following the link, the system will ask you for your username and your password. Either you access through the EVDAS page or directly from the EVDAS welcome page, you will arrive at the Marketing Authorization Holder Pharmacovigilance Queries Dashboard. In the welcome page of the dashboard, you will find the version of the dashboard, the current Medra version implemented in EVDAS, and how to get further support. We have now concluded the section on EVDAS Access by Marketing Authorization Holders, where we have covered the main principles of the access to EVDAS by MAHs and how to access the system. In the next section, we are going to explore in detail the Marketing Authorization Holder Pharmacovigilance Queries Dashboard. More specifically, we will cover the reports included in the dashboard, which are the Active Substance Grouping Report, the ERMR, the line listing. Moreover, we will also get an understanding of the general functionalities offered by the system and how to work with return reports. In this slide, you can see the welcome page of the MAH Pharmacovigilance Queries Dashboard, where you have three different tabs to access the reports: the ERMR, the line listing, and the active substance grouping. But before we move to explain these reports, we're going to describe first some general terminology about EVDAS, and most importantly, how to select an active substance in the system. What is a prompt? Prompts are objects that enable users to select the conditions to be included in a report. The following figure shows the prompts that are included in a specific report. Filters. Filters define the conditions that the data must meet to be included in the report result set. Some filters can contain any number of conditions. For instance, we can retrieve the data for different Medra SOCs or different Medra PTs. Only the data that meets all the filter conditions appear in the final result set of a report. The following illustration shows the report's filters as an example. The first thing you will need to do to run the database will be the selection of the active substance of interest. So in the next slides, we are going to describe in detail how to select one or more active substances using the high-level grouping in the EVDAS interface. The three reports in EVDAS will require the users to select an active substance from the prompt Active Substance High Level. You will understand later what we mean by Active Substance High Level. A substance can be selected by typing the name of the substance and then clicking on the substance name. EVDAS will offer you suggestions for the substance once you have typed the first few letters, as you can see in the example here. If you wish to search for more than one substance, then you can type the substance names separated by semicolons, or you can select More Search option. The selection card option will appear when you click in More Search. Once in the active substance selection card, from the Available section, select your operator using the drop-down menu. The options are Starts, Contains, Ends, and Is Like. The option Contains is the most comprehensive one because it will give you all the possibilities containing the name you have typed. It is recommended that the match case is not selected, so the system will start offering results. The more you type, the more redefined the results will be. Once you have typed the substance name, then select the desired substance by double-clicking on the substance name or by selecting the substance and then clicking in the arrow Move. The arrows in the middle of the selection card can be used to move the substances in between the two panels. The search terms can also be edited or selected within the Selected section by clicking in the Edit or the pencil icon at the top right of the Selected section. This brings up the Edit box containing any term that you have selected. You can edit or add any terms, including typing or pasting terms from other queries or sources. You can, for instance, paste here a list of substances that you have in a Word or an Excel document. Please note that if you are pasting, typing, or editing terms here, you will need to ensure that the terms are entered in capitals, they are spelled correctly, and that each term is on a separate line. Click OK when all the desired terms are included. Once all the desired substances appear in the selected panel, click OK to finish the substance selection. The selected substances will be included in the prompt. You can double-check by opening the drop-down menu or by opening again the selection card. Now that we know how to select a substance in EVDAS, we are going to describe the active substance grouping report. So, what is the rationale behind the concept of the active substance grouping? We said earlier that the access to EVDAS is provided at the level of the active substance high level. The active substance high level is formed by different names of an active substance, for example, different salts of the same substance. This group of substances names that form one active substance high level are used to perform signal detection and to retrieve EVDAS data. This grouping needs to be performed when aggregated dataset is needed for a higher level analysis. Grouping is a manual activity that is performed by the agency to facilitate such analysis. The active substance high level is generally used by default, although the low level is used when there is an interest in, for example, a particular salt. As an example of this grouping exercise, the substances names amlodipine mesylate, amlodipine maleate, and amlodipine mesylate are grouped under the high-level amlodipine. Querying the database under the lower level, for example, amlodipine mesylate, will give us a different number of cases. That's why for routine signal detection, it's important that we query the database at the high level so that we don't miss the relevant cases. In this context, the active substance grouping report provides the users an overview of the active substances in the EV-M5b that have been grouped to a specific active substance high level. Remember that EVDAS access is provided at the level of the active substance high level, so users should determine which active substance high level should be used to query the system. The active substance grouping report contains one prompt. To run the active substance grouping report, select an active substance and then click in the active hyperlink active substance grouping at the bottom of the report. The outcome of the active substance grouping report is a table containing the substances names that have been grouped to a specific active substance high level. As an example of this report, by running the active substance grouping report, marketing authorization holders of valproate semisodium will know that valproic acid is the active substance high level they should use to retrieve the data from EVDAS. By running the active substance grouping report, marketing authorization holders of lithium carbonate will know that lithium is the active substance high level they should use to retrieve the data from EVDAS. The next EVDAS report that we are going to describe is the Electronic Reaction Monitoring Report, or the ERMR. The Electronic Reaction Monitoring Report provides the user with aggregated data to be used for signal detection for a specific active substance high level according to a reference period. The report can be further filtered by MEDRA reaction terms. To access the ERMR report, click on the Electronic Reaction Monitoring Report tab in the Marketing Authorization Holder Pharmacovigilance Queries dashboard. Before we go to further explain the ERMR, we need to understand the concept of the reference period. Using a reference period in the ERMR allows us to highlight and separate the new cases received during that period. This permits a continuous monitoring of the database, as we will be able to review the new cases received from the last time we screened the data. The reference period is based on the EVDAS message gateway date and defines the start and the end of the period for populating the columns in the ERMR with new cases. For example, imagine that on the 1st of November 2017, we want to retrieve an ERMR with a 3-month reference period. We will delimit the reference period from the 1st of August 2017 to 31st of October 2017. The ERMR will give us cumulative data including all the cases received from the first ICSR until 31st of October 2017, and it will also give us the new cases received during the reference period. The new cases are populated in different columns. For instance, if I look at the cases in the EVPM, we will see first the new cases received during the reporting period, and then the total number of cases. Be aware that the concept of new cases in the ERMR is broader than we think. New cases are referring to cases received for first time in EVDAS, but also follow-up cases and deduplicated cases. When two cases are identified as duplicates, these are merged in a new master case that is resubmitted to EVDAS. If the date of the resubmission is within the reference period, this case will appear as new. Be aware that the two underlying duplicates will not appear in the ERMR. Depending on the reference period, the system is going to allow us to retrieve two different types of ERMR: a fixed reference period ERMR and an ad hoc reference period ERMR. The fixed reference period ERMR is pre-generated by the EMA the first day of every month. The reference period for these ERMRs will be fixed to 6 months. So for example, the reference period for the ERMR pre-generated on the 1st of July 2017 will be from the 1st of January to the 30th of June 2017. The report will not change until the new ERMR is available. Therefore, running the report for the same substance the first day of the month or the last day of the month will provide you with the same results. To retrieve a fixed reference period ERMR, select the option from the first prompt in the ERMR report. The fixed reference period ERMR report contains two prompts, the active substance and the MEDRA reaction terms. Select first the active substance high level of interest. The system offers the possibility to restrict the data for a selected MEDRA term. The options for a MEDRA term selection are at the level of the system organ class, HLGT, HLT, and preferred term. Moreover, MEDRA SMQs level 1, broad and narrow, can also be used. Within one of the mentioned categories, more than one term can be selected. For example, you can select 2 different PTs or 2 different SOCs. When all the data is required, the option None, which is the default option, should be left selected. With this option, the report will retrieve all the ICSRs received for the selected active substance. If you want to filter the data using MEDRA terms, select first the MEDRA hierarchy. We have selected system organ class in the example here. Once you have selected the MEDRA hierarchy, a new prompt will appear for you to select the actual MEDRA term within the selected hierarchy. Please be aware that the selection of the MEDRA terms follows the same logic as the selection of the substance. You can type the term or you can open the selection card by clicking the search function. Once all the prompts are completed accordingly, click on the hyperlink at the bottom to run the report. Please be aware that the hyperlink will not be activated if the mandatory prompts have not been completed. The other type of ERMR we can retrieve is the Adhoc reference period ERMR. This report allows producing an ERMR with a reference period selected by the user. In this case, there are 2 measures in place to protect the performance of the system. The reference period is restricted to 3 months and 2 weeks in the past from the day the report is run. The users are therefore able to define the reference period as being as short as 1 day and as long as 105 days. And only one substance can be selected each time the report is run. To retrieve an ad hoc reference period ERMR, select the option from the first prompt in the ERMR report, and this is the default option. The ad hoc reference period ERMR report contains 3 prompts: the active substance, the reference period, and the MEDRA reaction terms. Select one active substance first, and please remember that only one active substance can be selected in this report, and therefore the selection card option will only contain one panel. To select the reference period, select a start date from the options provided in the prompt. Remember that the start date can only cover a period up to 105 days in the past from the day you are running the report. The default option is 1 month from today's date. The end date of the reference period defines the limit for the cases to be included. The default option is today's day -1, so in that way users will retrieve the cases from the most up-to-date database. It is important to note here that using an end date in the past is possible, but the data retrieved will be according to the valid cases on the selected end date. In this example, if we retrieve an ERMR on the 1st of November and we select a reference period of 1 month from the 1st of September to the 30th of September 2017, the new cases, follow-ups, or the duplicates that were received from the 1st to the 31st of October 2017 will not be included in the output of the report. As we explained in the fixed reference period ERMR, the ad hoc reference period ERMR also offers the possibility to filter the data by MEDRA terms. Once all the prompts have been completed accordingly, click on the hyperlink at the bottom to run the report. Please be aware that the hyperlink will not be activated if the mandatory prompts have not been completed. Once the report has run, you will get the ERMR. Please note that the ERMR contains the same format and content regardless of running the report through the fixed or the ad hoc reference period. More information about the ERMR and how to manipulate the data are provided in the following sections of this training module. We are going to describe now the line listing report. The line listing report provides the user with a listing of individual cases for a specific substance and specific MEDRA terms. To access the line listing report, click on the Line Listing tab in the Marketing Authorization Holder Pharmacovigilance Queries Dashboard. The line listing report contains two prompts: the active substance and the MEDRA reaction terms. To retrieve a line listing, select an active substance. Remember that more than one substance can be selected. Select a MEDRA reaction term if applicable, and click on the hyperlink at the bottom of the report. Be aware that a line listing can also be accessible from a hyperlink in the ERMR that is placed in the number of cases, new EVPM, and total EVPM. The line listing will retrieve the cases for the specific active substance and for the specific MEDRA PT. The hyperlink will work also when the ERMR has been exported. In the example, if I click on the number of cases in the total EVPM column, I will be able to retrieve a line listing of those 15 cases of anemia. Bear in mind that Vigilance is updated every night, so if you run the ERMR and the line listing on different days, the number of cases may be different if new cases, nullifications, follow-ups, or deduplicated cases were received. Once the report has run, you will get a line listing with details on the individual cases. More information about the line listing and how to manipulate the data are provided in the following sections of this training module. We are now moving to describe some of the general functionalities in EVDAS. So let's start with the prompt page options. When you are in the prompt page, as well as answering the prompts and running the reports, the system offers you options to customize your selections. To access these options, click the Page option button at the top right-hand corner of the prompt page, as shown here. The available functionalities related to your prompt selections or customizations are: create a bookmark link, apply a saved customization, save your customizations, and edit or clear your customizations. Be aware that the print and refresh options are not active. With the option to create a bookmark link, we can create a dedicated URL suitable for saving or sharing the prompt page. It is shown in the browser's address bar. To create a bookmark link, once all the prompts have been answered, click on the option Create a bookmark link in the prompt page options menu. A message will appear stating that a bookmark link suitable for saving or sharing this page has been created. You can then copy the bookmark link from the browser's address bar. Saving your customizations. Once you have entered your prompt selections, you can choose to save these for future searches. To do so, once all the prompts have been completed, click on Save Current Customization in the prompt page options. The system will offer you the possibility to name that customization and to make it the default option. So next time you open this report, the prompts will be populated with this default customization. Please note that saving customizations for other users is not an active option. To apply a save customization to the report, click on Apply Saved Customizations, and the system will show the list of customizations that you have previously saved. To apply one of them, simply click on the desired option. Please be aware that customizations can only be applied within the same report. You cannot run an ERMR report with a customization saved for the line listing report. The option Edit Customizations gives you the possibility to modify your list of saved customizations. From here, you can delete, rename, or change the default option. If no default option is desired, then no personal customization should be the option selected. The option Clear My Customization removes all the answers to the prompt selected and restores the prompt page to the default answers. It is advised to clear your customizations when new reports are run, so you don't carry over by mistake previous prompt selections. We are now moving to other general functionalities applicable to return reports. Once the reports have run, you have 4 different standard options at the bottom left corner of the results page. The options are Return, Refresh, Print, and Export. Return takes you back to the prompt page options you selected for that report. Refresh reruns the report with the options previously selected. Print exports the return results in a printable format. To print, click the print link at the bottom of the page and the print menu will appear. Export presents the return results in a variety of formats for local storage, distribution, and analysis. To export, click the export link at the bottom of the page and the export menu will appear. Please note that to export, it is recommended to use Excel 2007. Please be aware that the report results cannot be saved directly from the EVDAS interface. You will need to export the results first in order to save them in your local systems. Once you have retrieved an ERMR or a line listing, before you export them, you can manipulate the layout by activating the right-click menu. From here, you can sort the column, exclude columns, or move columns. Moving columns to prompts allows you to convert the column into a prompt, and from there, select the data according to the options provided within that prompt. In the example provided here, the SOC column in the ERMR has been moved to a prompt, so you can see the ERMR for the selected SOC. Please be careful when you use this functionality, as it will not work if the column contains different values. For instance, columns with number of cases in the ERMR, or line listing columns such as the drug list. Moving columns to sections allows you to separate the data by a specific field. In the example provided here, the female cases have been separated from the male cases in the same page. Be aware that this functionality will not work if the column contains different values, for instance the columns with the number of cases in the ERMR, or line listing columns such as the drug list column. We have now finished with the description of the Marketing Authorization Holder Pharmacovigilance Queries Dashboard, and we have covered the main key aspects, but please always consult the training manual EVDAS G1A Marketing Authorization Holders Level 1 Access via EVDAS for further details. In this section, you obtain an understanding of the different reports available in the Marketing Authorization Holder Pharmacovigilance Queries Dashboard, how to select the active substance high level to be used in EVDAS, how to retrieve different ERMRs, how to retrieve a line listing, and how to manipulate and work with return results. The next section of this training module will cover the implementation of signal detection in EVDAS. As stated in the first section of this module, the principles and methods for statistical signal detection in EVDAS are described in the guideline Screening for Adverse Reactions in EVDAS. This section will describe the main key elements, but for further details, please do consult the guideline. The tools used for signal detection in EVDAS are outputs from EVDAS. Those outputs are the Reaction Monitoring Report, the line listing, and the ICSR form. Measures of disproportionality are based on a ratio of the observed proportion of spontaneous cases for a drug-event combination in relation to the proportion of cases that would be expected if no association existed between the drug and the event. The utility of this statistic for signal detection is based on the consideration that when a product causes the event, the number of observed reports for the drug-event combination will tend to exceed the number of events based on chance alone. The disproportionality method used in EVDAS is the reporting odds ratio, or ROR, which is included in the ERMR. The calculation of the ROR is based on a 2x2 contingency table. In the formula to calculate the ROR, A are the number of individual cases with a suspected medicinal product and the adverse event. B are the number of individual cases with a suspected medicinal product but no event of interest. C are the number of individual cases with the event of interest but not the medicinal product of interest. And D are the number of individual cases with no event of interest or medicinal product of interest. The 95% confidence interval of the ROR is also computed in the ERMR. In the following example, we are going to calculate the ROR for the event of nausea with medicinal product X. In the database, we have 15 reports of nausea with product X as suspect drug, so A is equal to 15. We have 100 reports with product X as suspect drug and no event of nausea, so B is equal to 100. Moreover, there are 5,000 reports of nausea reported with all other drugs in the database where product X is not included, so C is equal to 5,000. And there are 100,000 reports with all other drugs in the database not including nausea and not including product X, so D is equal to 100,000. If we do the calculations following the formula, the ROR for nausea in relation to product X is equal to 3, and that will give us the idea that nausea in relation to product X is reported 3 times more than expected. What is the concept of signals of disproportionate reporting? A set of rules based on the observed value of the disproportionality statistics and usually also other statistics like, for example, the number of spontaneous cases is applied in EUDRA-Vigilance and in EVDAS to indicate when a given drug-event combination should be highlighted for further analysis. When this occurs, it is often referred to as a signal of disproportionate reporting or an SDR. This is the definition and the criteria of an SDR in EUDRA-Vigilance for the general population. The lower bound of the 95% confidence interval of the ROR for the drug-event combination is greater than 1. Regarding the threshold for the number of cases of the drug-event combination, we need to have 3 or more cases for an active substance contained in medicinal products included in the additional monitoring list, unless the sole reason for inclusion on the list is the request of a post-authorization safety study, and 5 or more cases for the rest of the substances. And the third criterion for the SDR definition is that the drug-event combination should be an important medical event according to the important medical events list. For more information on the IME list, please go to the EUDRA-Vigilance website in the EMA corporate website. The concept of subgrouping consists on calculating the disproportionality measure within each of the subgroups defined by the covariantes. The aim is to consider the diversity and the potential confounding factors within the dataset. An SDR is considered only when the conditions for an SDR are met within any subgroup. The exclusion of litigation cases and the use of subgrouping by geographical region is implemented in the ERMR. The ROR is calculated for the following regions: Europe, North America, Japan, Asia, and the rest of the world. An SDR is considered in the ERMR when there is an SDR in at least one of those regions. We have seen so far the definition of SDR in EUDRA-Vigilance for the general population, and we will explain now the definition of SDRs for specific populations. So let's start with pediatrics. Disproportionality analysis can be applied to cases relating to children in order to increase the ability to detect signals in the pediatric population. The method of disproportionality is also the ROR. Within group disproportionality is also applied so only disproportionalities significantly higher than those in the non-pediatric group are considered. The relative pediatric ROR is calculating dividing the pediatric ROR, and this is the ROR calculated using pediatric cases only, by the ROR for the rest of the population. So the definition of an SDR for the pediatric population in EVDAS is as follows. The lower bound of the 95% confidence interval of the pediatric ROR is greater than 1. The lower bound of the 95% confidence interval of the relative pediatric ROR is greater than 1. There are 2 or more cases of the drug-event combination for active substances contained in medicinal products included in the additional monitoring list, unless the sole reason for inclusion on the list is the request of a post-authorization safety study. And there are 3 or more cases for the rest of the substances. Regarding the medical events, the event belongs to the important medical events list. Disproportionality analysis can be applied to cases relating to patients 65 years old or older in order to increase the ability to detect signals in the geriatric population. The method of disproportionality is also the ROR. Within group disproportionality is also applied, so only disproportionalities significantly higher than those in the non-geriatric group are considered. The relative geriatric ROR is calculating dividing the geriatric ROR, and this is the ROR calculated for geriatric cases only, by the ROR for the rest of the population. The definition of an SDR for the geriatric population in EVDAS is as follows. The lower bound of the 95% confidence interval of the geriatric ROR is greater than 1. The lower bound of the 95% confidence interval of the relative geriatric ROR is greater than 1. There are 3 or more cases for active substances contained in medicinal products included in the additional monitoring list, unless the sole reason for inclusion on the list is the request of a post-authorization safety study, and there are 5 or more cases for the other active substances. And also, the event is an important medical event. There are other areas of interest within the presentation of the data. In the ERMR, information on medication errors, positive rechallenge, and literature cases are visualized in separate columns to facilitate the screening. We are now at the end of the section where we have described how statistical signal detection is implemented in EVDAS, the concept of the ROR, definition of signals of disproportionate reporting in EVDAS, and approaches for special populations. We are moving now to the last of the sections of this training module that is dedicated to EVDAS report outputs. In this section, we will explore in detail the EVDAS report outputs for you to get a better understanding of the ERMR as a tool for signal detection, the line listing and the fields included, how to retrieve the ICSR forms, and the data included in the ICSR forms. So let's start with the ERMR. The ERMR is a tool for signal detection in hydravigilance and facilitates monitoring the safety of medicines. Displays summary statistics on both the new cases and cumulative cases, and therefore permits for continuous monitoring of the database. Please be aware that the ERMR is not a tool for signal validation or evaluation, for which more extensive review of the data and analysis are required. To take advantage of the possibilities offered by the ERMR, users are advised to export the data in the available formats so that the data can be manipulated appropriately. The illustrations and instructions provided in this section are based on an ERMR exported in Excel format. Please be aware that the data provided in the following screenshots is only for the purpose of training, and it is not real data. The ERMR is structured at drug event combinations level. Each line in the ERMR contains the name of the drug as the active substance high level and the name of the event of the reaction as MEDRA-PT, as illustrated in the example here. The ERMR provides with the MEDRA hierarchy for the drug event combination. Apart from the preferred term, you will also have the high-level term classification, HLT, the high group level term classification, HLGT, and the system organ class classification. Moreover, the ERMR will also indicate the standardized MEDRA query, SMQ, the specific PT belongs to, if any. These SMQ's columns may be empty when the MEDRA PT is not associated with any SMQ. One single SMQ will be populated when the MEDRA PT is associated with one unique SMQ, and different SMQs will be populated in one single cell when the MEDRA PT belongs to more than one SMQ according to the multi-axiality of MEDRA. The different SMQs are separated by quotations. The column IME-DME in the ERMR indicates whether the PT belongs to the important medical events or the designated medical events lists. The designated medical events list has been developed by the EMA and published for transparency purposes. This list includes medical conditions that are inherently serious and often drug-related. This list is used by the EMA and the national competent authorities to focus on reports of suspected adverse reactions that deserve special attention, irrespective of the statistical criteria used to prioritize the review of the drug event combinations. The next columns in the ERMR will provide you with the number of cases. The figures are computed for each drug event combination from the hydravigilance post-authorization module. Apart from the new and total number of cases in the EVPM, the ERMR also provides us with the number of cases according to the following parameters. Cases from the European Economic Area, healthcare professionals, seriousness criteria, observational studies, fatal cases, cases related to medication errors, cases with positive rechallenge, and literature cases. The next part of the ERMR will provide us with information for special populations. We'll see the new and the total number of cases related to pediatrics. the ratio ROR pediatrics versus others. This is the lower bound of the 95% confidence interval of the ratio between the ROR for pediatrics and the ROR for the rest of the population. And information on the SDR for pediatrics. By selecting Pediatrics SDR Yes, you will visualize all the drug event combinations that met the criteria for SDRs for pediatrics. Then we will have the same information but for the geriatric population. The new and the total number of cases related to geriatric patients. The ratio ROR geriatrics versus others. This is the lower bound of the 95% confidence interval of the ratio between the ROR for geriatrics and the ROR for the rest of the population. And also information on SDRs for geriatrics. By selecting Geriatric SDR Yes, you will visualize all the drug event combinations that met the criteria for signals of disproportionate reporting for geriatrics. The next section in the ERMR refers to the calculation of the ROR for the general population. The columns with the total number of spontaneous cases per region for the concerned drug event combination, including the reference period, is used for the calculation of the 95% confidence interval bound of the ROR in the subsequent columns. We will see the 95% confidence interval lower bound of the ROR for the concerned drug event combination for cases from Europe, North America, Japan, Asia, and the rest of the world. The column ROR all provide us with a 95% confidence interval lower bound of the ROR for the concerned drug event combination, and this is using all the other drug event combinations available in the database as reference. The column SDR identifies the drug event combinations with a signal of disproportionate reporting when the SDR criteria are met in at least one of the regions. The SDR column will be populated with a yes. This will allow the users to prioritize SDRs when screening the ERMR. The column changes in the ERMR indicates all the drug event combinations for which new ICSRs, initials or follow-up or deduplicated were received in the EVPM during the reference period. By selecting a value in the drop-down list of the column changes, 3 different filters can be applied. New, a drug event combination appearing in the EVPM for the specific substance for first time. Increased, a drug event combination with an increased number of cases in the column total EVPM or for which a follow-up report has been received or a master case following the duplication has been created. An increased fatal, a drug event combination with an increased number of fatal cases or for which a follow-up or a deduplicated for a fatal case has been received. To select only the cases included in the reference period and ticked the blanks in the changes options. The ERMR also provides us with a number of cases for the drug event combinations stratified by route of administration and by indication for use. This information should be used with caution as the route of administration and the indication for use may not have been reported in some cases. The number of cases with unknown route of administration and indication for use are also provided. as there could be plenty of different routes of administration, and it would not be practical and useful to provide the number of cases for each of the reported route of administration. Only the number of cases using the three most common route of administrations reported are provided. The same approach is followed for the indication for use, which is provided at the level of the HLGT. Now that we finish with the description of the ERMR, we are moving to the line listing. The line listing provides details of the individual cases according to the EVDAS Access Policy Level 1. The first part of the line listing provides us with some characteristics of the case. We will find the EU local number, the worldwide unique case number, the EV gateway date, the report type, and the options are spontaneous, reports from studies, other, and not available to sender. Also, primary source qualification of the case. Which one is the primary source for regulatory purposes, and this is displayed as European Economic Area or non-European Economic Area, and the literature reference if applicable. This is followed by information on the patients, where the line listing will display the patient age group, and this is based on the age reported or calculated by the system based on the date of birth and the first reaction start date when those dates are reported in a valid format. The patient group as reported, the patient sex, and information whether the case is a parent-child report. Then we move to reactions and drug sections in the line listing. The reaction cell will display the MedRAPT for the reactions, and for each of the reactions we can see the duration, the outcome, and the serious criteria when provided. The drug sections will display the name of the substance and product for centrally authorized products in line with the access policy, the drug characterization, the indication for use, the action taken, the duration of drug administration, the dose, and the route of administration when provided. The therapy duration is populated using the field duration of drug administration, but if that is not available, then it is calculated from the therapy start date and the therapy stop date, provided that those dates are submitted in a complete format. We will find the suspect interacting drugs first, and then the concomitant or not administered drugs. At the end of the line listing, we will find a link to the ICSR form. At this moment, the system will recognize the users and will provide the ICSR form according to the level of access established in the EVDAS Access Policy. If the case you want to retrieve does not contain a suspect drug owned by the marketing authorization holder, you will get the form in level 1. If the case does contain a suspect drug owned by the marketing authorization holder, you will get the form in level 2A. If the case has been previously sent by the marketing authorization holder, or it is a case from the medical literature monitoring scheme, you will get the form in level 3. So let's now describe the ICSR form. Following the implementation of the ICH E2B R3 in EUDRAVigilance, the new ICSR form has been created to provide a readable format for the E2B R3 data elements. The ICSR form replaces the CIOMS one previously retrieved from the database under the R2 format. The ICSR form does not contain the reported information for all possible E2B data fields, but rather a selection of fields considered most relevant for safety assessment. In general, the data elements are populated in the form in the same way, with text or numbers, as they've been reported, but sometimes abbreviations are used. Moreover, some fields are populated following a calculation of specific fields, following the same rules as in the line listing, for example, the therapy duration. And the ICSR form is provided in PDF format. The data fields provided in the ICSR form are structured and displayed in a way that facilitates the analysis of the data and provides the user with the key elements to assess the temporal and causal association between the drugs and the reactions. Fields are grouped into logical sections, drug, reactions, medical history, so that the user can easily visualize all the available information for a specific topic. All the ICSR forms follow the same format regardless of the cases submitted under R2 or R3 terminology, but users should consider when analyzing the data that legacy cases were migrated to the new R3 format. There are some core sections in the form that will always be present. This is to make the form consistent and recognizable by the users. These sections are general information, patient, reaction, drug, and case narrative for the Level 3 form. The rest of the sections follow a specific dynamism. That means that if no data has been provided for the entire section, that section is not populated in the form. This is to avoid having complete empty sections. For example, if the case is not fatal and therefore no information is provided in the data elements related to death, the section death is not populated. The following slides provide a general overview of the sections populated in the ICSR form Level 2A. The General Information Table contains administrative information about the case. This includes information about the sender, dates, country, studies, reporters' qualifications, and also provides information on whether the case is considered serious and if it has been medically confirmed. Please note that the fields about the studies will not appear in the spontaneous cases. The general information table is followed by the patient's details. The reaction table contains information about the suspected ADRs included in the case. This includes the start and the stop date, the duration, the outcome, and the seriousness criteria. Please note that the seriousness criteria is reported as reaction level in R3. The cases migrated from R2 will populate the seriousness criteria reported at case level for all the reactions reported in the case. The next section in the ICSR form is the drug information that is divided in two different tables. In the drug continuation table, additional information on the drug will be captured as reported for the new E2BR3 data elements GK10 and GK11. These fields capture additional information not covered by other sections, for example, counterfeits and medication errors. The cumulative dose to the first reaction is a dynamic field and will also appear when provided. The parent route of administration is also a dynamic field and will only appear for parent-child reports. The ICSR form is designed to facilitate visualization of the temporal association between the drug administration and the development of the reactions. But please consider that as the tables will expand depending on the number of drugs and the number of reactions, this visualization will not be possible for some cases. The next section provides information on the time to onset and rechallenge. The calculation of the time to onset follows the following rules. The difference between the reaction start date and the earliest therapy start date. If the earliest therapy start date is not provided, or it is not provided in a valid format, but there are subsequent therapy days provided, then the calculation of the time to onset will not take into account those consecutive dates. Otherwise, the information provided will not be a real time to onset. If the time to onset cannot be calculated as above, the value time interval between beginning of the drug administration and the start of the reaction is used to populate this field if provided. The medical history and concurrent conditions section provide information on the terms submitted in a structured way. This information relates to terms reported as medical history, concurrent conditions, surgical procedures, together with the dates for those conditions and information regarding whether the reported conditions are known to be present at the time of the report. This table also provides information relating to whether the term has been reported to be also present in another family member. The text for relevant medical history and concurrent conditions is a dynamic field and captures information about other medical history that cannot be coded. The past drug history section provides drugs previously administered and which have been stopped before the onset of the suspected ADRs. The death section provides information of the death of the concerned patient. The data elements reported cause of death and reported cause of death free text are combined in one cell. The same approach is followed for the data elements autopsy determined cause of death and autopsy determined cause of death free text. The next section of the ICSR form will provide us with the literature reference when provided, the reported comments, the sender's diagnosis, syndrome or reclassification of the reaction, and sender's comments. The section on laboratory tests provides information on the tests and procedures performed to diagnose or confirm the reactions. They are populated using the data elements test result combined with elements result and structured data free text, which is provided in brackets. For parent-child report cases, the ICSR form will contain a section to populate the reported information about the parent. There will be up to 3 different tables depending on the information provided. The sections are parent details, relevant medical history and concurrent conditions of the parent, and past drug history of the parent. The last section of the ICSR form will provide us with information about duplicates and linked reports to the specific case. We have now explained the main characteristics of the ICSR form, but please, for more details, consult the ICSR 4 manual. And we are now at the end of the section of EVDAS reports outputs, where we covered the ERMR as a tool for screening data in EVDAS, details of the line listing to assess the individual cases, and details of the ICSR form. And with this, we can conclude this training module, EVDAS M5b, where we provided you with the basis for access to EVDAS data by marketing authorization holders, the EVDAS interface to retrieve the data in EVDAS, the marketing authorization holder Pharmacovigilance queries dashboard, understanding how statistical signal detection is implemented in EVDAS, and understanding the ERMR, the line listing, and the ICSR form. The following slides provide you with some supporting documents that you can use to complement this module. And also, where can you get further support if needed. We would like to invite you to provide us feedback on this module by completing the survey below. Your feedback will be used for the development of future modules. For your reference, we have provided you also here with the acronyms that have been used throughout this training module. And finally, we would like to thank you for your interest in this module, and we hope that the information provided here was helpful to you.